Hello, everyone. We are so glad and grateful that you are all joining us today for our 2024 World Mental Health Day edition of our popular Lunchtime Conversation series at Westland's DEI Department. My name is Nicole, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm part of the DEI team here. Before I introduce our Master of Ceremony, let me make some important housekeeping announcements. Pascal and I want to commend our Disability Advocacy Chair, Ray Schuholtz. Ray. Ray actually suggested that we host a disability-themed lunchtime conversation this quarter. That suggestion led to this event. Good job, Ray. We appreciate your untiring advocacy. Now it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage the MC for this event, an entrepreneur and a Westland resident, Will Sparks.
Good morning, everyone. I was hoping they got my good side. As you know, I'm the Master of Ceremony, Will Sparks. Hello, everyone, and happy World Mental Health Day. We are here today to remind ourselves that our mental health is as important as other aspects of our well-being. Our distinguished panelists will throw more light on that in about 15 minutes. For now, let me invite the police chief, Kyle Dawley, to lead us in Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's now my pleasure to invite Mr. Paul Motts, Director of Westland Youth Assistance, to give the welcome address on behalf of Westland Mayor Kevin Coleman.
What a good, strong name for our MC, Will Sparks. It sounds very lively. I like it. Thank you very much. So, it's Mayor Coleman's honor to have me speak on his behalf today. He doesn't know it yet, but it will be. No, I was really grateful when I was asked to fill in for Mayor Coleman, because I know this stuff's really important to him. And one of the things I've heard him talk about is everyone gets a seat at the table. So we're going to be inclusive and work together. And it's fitting because this is about mental health. And the main thing about prioritizing everyone's mental health, because we all need to be okay. And I greatly appreciate Mayor Coleman's desire to have that occur. Today, 10/10, around the world, World Mental Health Day. And just the date, 10/10, is significant to me. And if you'll indulge me a little bit, but it was a long time ago, the end of 2005, I got to be director of Westland Youth Assistance. My very first hire was Michelle Bracey. And Michelle Bracey always had such passion and joy, and she brought excitement and happiness and personality to everything. Michelle was good for everyone's mental health. So I'm a guy, I don't know a lot of people's birth dates, but I always remember Michelle's. So we lost Michelle about 5 years ago. And I think some of our police remember Michelle at our office. I know Dewey Reeves remembers her as well. And so one of the things in kind of tying this in is, yep, we have losses, we all hurt, but sometimes we can do good by reaching out. And she has a son about 34 years old, and I try to reach out to him every year on her birthday and just let him know we're thinking about that. And sometimes it's the small things that someone can do to brighten someone else's day. I'm envious of young people, some young people, because they seem better prepared to have boundaries and do things to help their mental health, whether it's like working out or joining different clubs or trying different things, expanding the world, expanding their relationships. And you know, one young lady I get to work with, her name's Rachel, and she's our deputy director. And I'm in awe of somebody being so young and such a good listener and so thoughtful and concerned with so many people and supporting so many people. She's much younger than me, but she's kind of a role model, so I've tried to take a page out of her book. But I'm gonna thank Rachel right now, everybody. Rachel Savastan. So, we work with at-risk kids, and we've been holding a mentor training. And it was a Tuesday night and Wednesday night, so we've had some really long days because we've been leaving at about 9:30 p.m. And last night, we had a young lady who's being mentored, as well as her mentor. And we can't film it because of confidentiality, but if you could have seen the connection they've already developed over 4 or 5 months, and seeing somebody who is in kind of a rough place where things are being awful and very challenging at home, at school, and maybe some poor decision makings, and just that little bit of time, like once a week, an hour and a half, this is what I mean when we circle back to doing good for others helps us, because the mentor too, the volunteer mentor, lights up talking about the youth. So I see this being a connection that's gonna last for many years. I'm gonna wrap it up, but I know the mayor would very much, appreciate Pascal and Nicole and his crew and everybody else from city that helps out. And I just gotta give one more shout out to Ray, because Ray too has helped the Westland Youth Assistance Program. And I met Ray many good number of years ago, and I was so impressed with how open he was. And Ray's somebody who came from a very difficult beginning, very, very challenged. And it's so impressive when somebody's been pushed down by so many for so long, but yet gets up and continues to deliver. And Ray, I'm gonna thank you too for continuing to help us at Westland Youth Assistance and for all you do. Thank you.
I would now like to bring to the stage the poet, the popular poet, Lauren Sowell.
Before I do my piece, I just want to give a synopsis of who I am and the value of why I do what I do. I am a 12-year sex traffic survivor, and I found that by way of sharing my testimony and through spoken word, not only was I able to heal, but it brought me purpose and destiny within my passion. So now I am a anti-trafficking specialist with Avalon Healing Center, formerly known as Wayne County Safe. And the piece is entitled Trigger Warning. Trigger warning. This will be a trigger, but also a warning. An eyewitness victim's statement that may be hard to believe, recanted by a victim to survivor so that you can see Exhibit A. The price to be a princess ain't necessarily free, especially when you a girl like me, a baby that's 3. Her heart bleeds when she's molested. She's trying to figure out why she wasn't protected. Well, baby grows older, a soul colder, marked with iniquity, so the world will scold her. But it's not compelling. Exhibit 2, persuaded by perspectives of false narratives, and she's trying to find the truth. Not a lot of option for a girl to choose. She chooses sex and drugs over any form of love. Well, she's bought by many hands and she's sold by many men. But Your Honor, the victim somehow is losing her purpose and her mental health is slipping. But there's so much more that I need you to see. So before you call a recess, resuscitate me. Exhibit 3. She's 21 and still asleep. And she's blinded by everything that is developed in the dark. And she cuts in every vein that drains. It's the freedom it brings. Well, she thought last night was her last night, but she woke to this. And if it pleases the court, I would like to enter a soul deed from the Father above because it reads, my daughter. In the world where mental health ain't always sound, I found me to be a healer. Reverse the work of the enemy and filling voids, I found me to be a filler. Hope to the hopeless, you let my case rest. You'll find in me everything that you ever will need. Closing remarks. I, for one, understand where I've been. I've been woke, not sleep. Victory, not defeat. But this has definitely been that test. To look through the window of the mind of the most free kind in the high mind where my soul will find rest. I said, this has definitely been that test. To look through a window of an escape of the most high kind in a free mind where my soul finds best. It's distinctively speaking, I've been hidden by dreams deferred. I know it'll all be worth it, knowing I ain't worthless. You see, my credence is on my fight, and my light, it will bring me sight. But in the case of shopping around for purpose and destiny, I will always plead me. Could you handle the truth if you were me? Because in the case of purpose and destiny, death versus destiny, we find, we plead, and we charge the defendant. But you better, you will always, and you shall charge me free. Thank you. My next piece is, because I love spoken word. Let me just throw this out now. I do this thing called extemporaneous poetry. And what that means is with the audience participation, you create the masterpiece that I share. So I do a cadence of 3 where I count down 1, 2, 3, and you'll throw out anything random. It can be as random as a bag of chips, water, toilet, wherever your intrusive thoughts will go. I want those words. I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 3 times, and then I'll grab words from the air. First one, 1, 2, 3, throw a word. Okay, a little louder. I got one though. 1, 2, 3, throw a word. Somebody hit it deep. 1, 2, 3, throw a word. Okay, I have vapor, darkness, and love. This is your masterpiece. Dear diary, today seems reflectively different for me. Today is a day that I need the most because I need to see. It is within my real eyes that I realize that my mind can't think past what my heart will say. Mentally speaking, I've been just having one of those really jacked up bad days. However, for me, it seems that everything that clouds inside wants me to be free. However, the barriers of breaking down everything inside of me needs me to be. However, I know what it's like to love without purpose, love on purpose, love to live on of this moment in time that will rewind itself if you did not get the lesson of time, that sand will still sleep and sleep will still bring, that if you are dreaming, wake up. It's in this mental mind, this mental heart, this mental capacity to understand that I am no longer in the dark. The darkness kept me bound. The darkness kept me away from what I needed to be, kept me away from what I needed to see. The darkness, it compelled me and kept me captive beyond the world's wildest dreams, except I was radical. I tapped in and I understood that everything 6 feet below only had a barrier of how far you can perceive that really is beneath. There was no rock bottom for me. Beneath the rock was another shine. Beneath the rock was developed in the dark another grind. And it's in this mind that I bring mental wealth. The mental generational blessings that no longer will I be cursed, because if life and death is in the power of the tongue, I will speak life. I will live on, pass beyond the vapor of the atmosphere, pass beyond what you think that you know, pass beyond the wisdom to understand that I was planted to seed a growth. I was planted to seed everything beneath the wind, beneath the wings of me. Reflectively speaking, I've seen the mind, and I spoke to the heart. I've seen with my eyes, and I spoke to the dark, and I live mentally free beyond the wildest dream. Radically speaking, I'll always be free.
I'm sorry, we got to give Ms. Lauren Sowell another hand. That was a very touching speech. I would have to say, off the books, like, strong for a woman to go through so much and to be still stand here to talk about it today. You have give her a hand one more time. I would now like to introduce the panel discussion moderator, Mr. Michael Ballinger. Yes, sir.
My name is Michael Bellinger. I'm the moderator for today. When it comes to the questions, I've been a resident of Westland for about 1.5 years now, and I'm a graduate of Eastern Michigan University, and I love to write and share my thoughts on a variety of topics, and I'm here with my beautiful wife, and that's probably one of the things I'm most proud of, that I was able to get married. So that's a dream come true for somebody like me. So thank you, Michelle. And then now we're going to get to our panelists. The first gentleman that's going to come up is Ray Schultz. But when you come up, Ray, just take the microphone for a quick second and give your background, because you could probably do it better than I can.
Hi, I'm Ray Schultz, and I'm glad everyone's here today. Westland Police and my friends over there from CLS, and my best friend over there is Rex, and Dee's over there. All right. I wanted to say, talk a little bit about myself. Of course, I'm the chair of the Disability Advocacy, and we kind of changed it from concern to advocacy group. So I've been on the move, and mental health to me is very important, like Paul was talking about. And that's why we're here today to talk about it, because in my time, we didn't have the resources. There were very lack in resources. And back in the day, I think you would have heard of institutions. Well, I'm a speaker of that, and I train the staffing at Community Living Services. They are like a family to me. I've been there for 12 years, and Ray's still going to rock it. And helping peers, I work with 12 peers right now, and people do go through struggles. Even people that I work with go through struggles. We all do. We're not alone. We all can help each other in this room or out there. It's very important. So this is my longest career I ever done. And I think my mission is the calling of it is to train people that we don't want to see the system, mental health, to go in the cracks. Or no more institutions. People should have the right to live a life as anybody else. And I want to say thank you.
Our next panelist is going to be Dr. Lisa Friedrich. Just come on up and share your backstory, because I know you can definitely do it better than me. I don't want to be too wordy.
Well, first of all, I want to thank our poet, Lauren. It brings me back to my training. I was initially an English major, English teacher at a university level. And about 10 years ago, I started to see a gap where there was no service, no curriculum, no learning for individuals with disabilities. My son had been diagnosed when he was 10 on the autism spectrum, and I started to think, what is he going to have available to him when he's an adult, when he wants to go to school, when he wants to go to college? Oh, there were so many of my colleagues and I that were writing curriculum and standards for learning for adults in the college level for neurotypical people, but not a lot for disabilities. So I took a little waylay, I guess, into the nonprofit world of disability support. So I've been working there, writing curriculum and discovering what the needs are for adult learning in disability world. And now I've made my way back to academia. I've always been teaching online. I just couldn't leave the classroom. Love teaching adults. But I am back now full-time teaching, and I have a firm that helps about 30 individuals one-on-one. And one of the things that I learned in my years was that mentorship, that one-on-one discussion and talking and understanding that person as a human being is so critical, rather than a big group setting or activities. Those are important. Right, socialization is important, but the one-on-one is really important. So that's what I'm doing now, and I am very happy to be here today, and hopefully I answer your questions, Michael.
Absolutely. And our last panelist is Sergeant Stephanie Shannon. Please share your story with the audience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sergeant Stephanie Shannon. I'm the founder and CEO of an organization called Michigan Women Veterans Empowerment. We empower all veterans, the youth, and the 8 dimensions of wellness. My background is that I served in the first Gulf War, Desert Storm, where the most women were deployed. I'm just sharing a little bit about my book. I lived 20 years undiagnosed with PTSD because there was nothing available for women veterans. I experienced what they call military sexual trauma. 1 in 3 women are sexually assaulted in the military, and 50% of the victims are men. It's still happening. What's happening as well, we're dealing with a lack of open and transparency and safety for veterans in the community. So my background in psychology, I'm from the west side of the state of Michigan. I've done quite a bit of work all over the state of Michigan because what I experienced wasn't a safety place to talk about mental health. I worked as a professional in social work, and I actually became a homeless veteran, believe it or not. It's easy to do if you don't get the intervention you need. So I'm here to just kind of speak about the transparency we need, the safety we need, and the access to services, and also inviting veterans to the table. When you think of veteran, you also don't think of a woman. And when you think of combat, you don't think of a woman. But we serve. There's over 2 million women veterans in the nation, and we make up about 46,000 in Michigan. So it's just an honor to here to serve, but it's very important that we talk about mental health, normalize it, and provide the resources. So I'm just here to serve today. Thank you for the opportunity.
And thank you for your service to the country. Is everybody ready to hear some important questions? So, with all these different perspectives in the room, I think it would be a good idea to ask the panel a simple question, but an important question. How would you define mental health? And we'll start from this young lady here, and we'll work our way down, and the gentleman will be last.
Mental health is the same thing as physical health. It's something that we need to take care of. I tell people self-care is the best care. So you have to put yourself first. So it's not selfish, it's self-preservation, it's not narcissism at all. So mental health is something that we need to be transparent about. When I was working for the state of Michigan, I shared with my supervisor I was dealing with anxiety and depression, and she said, don't tell anyone because you won't get promoted. So we need to understand that mental health care is something that we need to ask for. It's not a sign of weakness. We need to reach out to the resources, not self-medicate. We need to own our stuff. If we're trauma victims, don't stay in the victim state and move to that place of survivorship by taking care of yourself.
So one of the things I learned as an educator is that we learn best by visualization, seeing a picture. So I'm going to draw you a picture of what I think mental health is. I think of mental health as 3 circles: our mind, our emotions, and our body. So how we're thinking, how we're feeling, and what we're doing. And excellent mental health, when we feel we're just right in that trigger mark, is when they're all aligned in a row, but they're also connected. Our mind is connected to our emotions. What we do or what happens to us in the physical realm is connected to our emotions. And our mind is connected to what happens to us. If we experience a trauma or a death or a loss, and we all do, some to a greater extent, how we think about that is going to affect our emotions. And I think the emotions are in the center, and when our emotions take off, that's like the warning signal. That's like the fire alarm going off, saying there's something going on in the kitchen down here, there's a fire, and the way you're thinking about something, your emotions are going to tell you. I think the problem is we ignore those emotions, or we're told to. Like, don't tell anybody you're having anxious thoughts, because we don't like that. Or don't cry. People will think you're a wimp, right? Or, don't say, I need to take a break and take a nap here, or I need to go take a walk. Don't allow those emotions to really be seen. Just ignore them, push them down. The problem then is that the mind and what's going on in your life are never aligned because you're not paying attention to those emotions. So that's how I kind of look at mental health. All 3 of them are really important when we're considering our own mental health and when we're trying to help others with their mental health.
Very good point. And then I wanted to talk about the little history of the mental health, because back in my time as a kid, I don't want to see it happen again with these other kids out there. And it wasn't a piece of pie for me. I'm going to tell you that right now. It was not have dinner brought to you from the institution to that plays in a lot of mental health here. And I was very fortunate when I was pushed down, but I believed in myself. I looked in that window, and I'll tell you what really helped my mental health. It's the supports from the agencies, supports from my family. my adopted family that helped me, and peer mentoring does help me because I'm helping other people because I don't want to see them fall between the cracks. I'll help them. I'll give them resources. If there's an emergency, if there's a crisis, I will notify our supervisor. So when it comes down to that, and I just don't want to, it's nothing wrong in asking for help, really. If you might be having a good day out there, and some people, yeah, I'm fine. Well, you're not fine. There's something going on, and sometimes people close up, but they don't want to talk about it. So that's why I'm here today to talk about it.
So based on the answers to that question, I would like to move on to maybe a question that connects that. Why do you think that mental health is considered secondary in comparison to other forms of health?
Because of the history of it, the resources available, and the negative stigma attached to it. Crazy. You're weird. You're strange. And that's what happened. 22 veterans commit suicide every day. So that means like every hour. Women veterans commit suicide 4 times more than their civilian counterparts. So if you can't talk about it, there's no safe place. So it becomes not normal. So we're dealing with mental health crisis with our youth. The suicide rate is so high. And then they'll blame it on other factors. So a lot of it, that's why the issue is, because it's not normal anymore. Depression, they said 1 in 2 people. And then they say, well, just take a pill. No, you got to go down deep beyond that. What is the underlying cause? And we have to face those issues and dig up. So when I started dealing with my mental health and finally start processing this big old ugly monster that was chasing me, I found out it was just a little mouse and something I could eliminate out of my life.
I believe that we don't treat mental health as important as physical health because a lot of it is invisible, right? It happens in our mind. It happens in our emotions. If we see somebody with a disability, or even if we come down with the flu and we're wheezing and we look like we're sick, people at work will say, go home, right? And it might just be a cold, but go home. I don't want you sneezing all over me. But our mental health, which is so much more important, is invisible. It's happening in our mind, happening in our emotions, about things in our physical life that happen to us. So I think that's why one of the reasons we as humans, we can blame our society, we can blame us, but we have to remember we are the society, right? So when we are blaming society for overlooking mental health, it's us. We're the ones doing that. And so I think the reason is because we can't always see it. I don't know. I have 2 sons, and 28 and 25, and they struggle with mental health. There's lots of different things going on in their lives, and I can't see it. So I have to ask them all the time, and I feel like I'm nagging, So sometimes I won't ask them, and then come to find out they did have a struggle with something. So that invisibility is one of the biggest problems, I think, with mental health.
I agree with you 100% about people. I was going to bring that up, about people with disabilities affected with mental health. Me, with an ability, it affected me. It was during the years it affected me when my neighbors were like, oh, we don't want these people in our neighborhood. People with disabilities, no, we don't want them here. How does that feel? That is mental health in a way. I remember going to school being bullied. That's mental health too. And mental health, like I said, in so many ways, when you tried to ask for help at the time, and some people are scared to speak up. Well, with me, I try to say, get off that couch, Ray, do something about it. So what helped me out was with our mental health, and me helping other people now is the supports that I've got. I'm also an ambassador of mental health. So what that is, I give resources out there to the police department, to the fire department, and then the community. I'm always out with the community, and this button I'm wearing today, we label cans, but we do not label people. Everybody should be treated with dignity and respect.
Based on the answers we heard up here just now, I would like to ask the panelists, how would you say the perceptions of mental illness came to be? based on the stories that you've shared?
Historically, and I'm saying from a veteran's perspective, combat, it was considered shell shock because it had a label, but then it was also dismissed. Also, the African American or the Black community, BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Only 4.7% mental health workers are African American. So you don't often have a person that looks like you or get it. So if I say, I feel like I'm being discriminated against or I'm being this, and I say it to someone else, they're like, well, I don't get it. I don't have that. So if you have no one that understands your struggle, like I have a therapist and they're a veteran, so they understand what I'm saying when I served overseas. They're saying, that's such a long time ago, but I didn't have that person to identify with. So I think a lot of that's where it comes from, is someone you can relate to, and where you come from really can be the level of intervention you need.
So going back to my picture of mind and body and emotions, I think in our society, again, which is us, we look at strength as ultimate power, right? If you're strong, having emotions has often been looked at as weak, right? You're feeling something. You're not as strong as you should be. Those heroes that we look up to are strong. So I think over time, it's gotten to be where emotions are looked at as weak, and if you show them, that's even weaker. So that's why we pull them down, and that's why we never really address those emotions, whether it be sadness or grief or trauma or any of those things. We don't want to be seen as weak, and I think we need to change that to believe that showing those emotions is one of the strongest things you can do. Identifying how you feel and where that is pointing you to your thinking.
Well, I'll tell you, and with mental health is, my self-esteem has gotten a lot better because, you know, I start watching city council, for example. I said, wow, I got to start going there. I want to educate. And so I went there, and then I'm starting learning through the years of the histories, and I train caregivers out there. I train the police department already, and the fire department out here in the city of Westland talk about how to work with people better with different abilities, to understand them. Because during my time, I'm going to share mental health. I went to one of the police stations and had a run-in. They wouldn't listen to me at the time. They thought I was the victim. I said, no, I'm not the victim here. There's the person I'm reporting. So back then, they weren't listening to me. But I'll tell you something right now. People are listening now. People are listening to me. People are greeting me in the streets out there, saying hello. And it feels good. That's what brings up your mental health. Well, mental health is what brought me up. It's working with my agency. Helping people, helping the peers that I work with, or when I go to the youth group and talk to the kids and family. Let's appreciate the families out there. We don't know what's going to bring us tomorrow.
Since all of you have mentioned different things that have caused mental health stigmas in this country, in this world for that matter, what are some things that people in mental health advocacy are doing to change the perceptions to make life better for those struggling with mental health complications?
I say transparency is power. When I became a homeless veteran, they like, you know, all we do is talk about our degrees and our accolades, where I'm from, the car I'm driving, where I live. I started being vulnerable. I just said, hey, this is what I've been through, or I lost all of this, and this is where I'm at, so I became human. So I just talk about what I really been through, so I can talk to another person. They're like, oh my God, you did that? So it's more relatable. So then I think that's where the power is, being transparent, being an advocate, and then also saying where the resources are. So whenever I have someone that has been through similar stories, I said, that's a safe place to go. They'll listen to you, and a lot of times they just build trust over time. So being an advocate is being real, transparent, and then pointing to the resources, but being a safe place and keeping those secrets. A lot of times people will share things with you, but don't repeat them. So if a person you want to help, you say, hey, I'm here for you, I'm a friend, but also make sure you take care of yourself while you're being an advocate, because you can burn out as well.
One of the words that is really important to me is communication. I teach writing, communication, reading, all of that in higher ed. But communication and talking about things really does help us toward a solution. And I just thank Westland and Pascal and everyone for putting this together, because these types of forums help us understand. And I think there's like a progression that people go through. I think awareness is really important, because there are people still who do not understand that mental health is a problem. And then it moves toward acceptance. Okay, it's a problem. I can see that others or myself have issues with mental health. And then finally, what we're wanting is inclusion, right? For us to look at mental health as an inclusive type of part of our physical health, right? We know that we have to brush our teeth every day for our oral health. Well, what do we need to do every day for our mental health? What are those checklists we need to go through in our mind? How am I thinking about these things? How am I self-care, as you mentioned? So I think the communication will lead us through those steps as a society. But the more we talk about it, the more people will understand.
And I think you're right. The more we talk about it, because in my time, I didn't have a diversity or inclusion, but we do now. There is resources out there, and sometimes people don't know where to go. I've had a couple people already ask me about mental health. Ray, where can I get the help that I need? I want some information. So I give it to them. I said, well, there's a DWIH online. You can pull them up. You can also call people now. There's a 24-hour support line now, and I believe it's, I can't think of the number right now, but there is a number. People listen. There's one of the peers, for an example, needed help, and he called that support group. And that first thing I said, how did they talk to you? Did they give you their nice support? Ray, thank you for giving me that number. And it was a really help. And this peer that I was working with, success story. Now he's living a life and living with his dad.
And now, based on those stories and answers and all the stuff that came along with it, I would like to have each panelist share practical steps that people can take in their daily lives to help their mental health.
You have to figure out what works for you. So I found a step. I garden. I learned how to garden. Did you know that dirt makes you happy? That there's actual microbes in the soil, antidepressants in the soil. So when I started gardening and being out in the sun, that helped me. So I became a farmer. I'm a farmer out in Genesee County. So I started figuring out what works for me. Nature, walking, getting off the telephone. That's why I call it that. Because social media can be very toxic. So moving away from non-supportive people, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. Setting boundaries, learning to say no. So those things, that's what I learned over time. But therapy was the check place, going back and forth. Did you do your homework? Prolonged exposure therapy was the toughest therapy, but I grew so much in that. But I invested in that. But I found out these things that helped me, and I just share those strategies with other people, and I say, what works for you? You know, my granddaughter, the animals I have, this gives me something back. So you have to find that happy place and create that for yourself.
Well, personally, I think there's two areas that I struggle with mental health. One is the everyday, and like in the poem, the jacked up really bad day, just things that happen and make it a really bad day. And then when I'm in a crisis, I've been in multiple health crises in my life, and I think there's two strategies that work for me. The first one, I'll give you an example. I kind of suffer from seasonal affective disorder, but it's not snow, it's rain. It gives me migraines, and my shoulders really ache, and just get a bad attitude. My emotions are like, I can't take this, it's just horrible. And here in Michigan, we have a lot of those rainy, cloudy days, so my life would be really affected if I didn't come up with something to work that out. So I go back to my circles. In my mind, I literally just have to tell myself, it's just because of the rain. It's just because of the rain. Your life isn't bad, it's just because of the rain. And then on the active, daily life side, I turn on all the lights in my house, much to the chagrin of my husband. Doesn't like it. But when he's going to work, I turn on all the lights in my house because it literally helps my emotions so I can pull those emotions back down so they can be in a line, okay? I can't change the weather. Not going to happen. But I can change what I do in the weather and also how I think about it. And then if I'm in a crisis, or if one of my participants, one of my learners is in a crisis, one of the things that I find helpful is an idea called grounding. And it really brings you back, because sometimes you get lost in your mind and then you're in a crisis and you have a panic attack. And so what I do with my participants, my learners, is I take them through the 5 senses. Okay, I say, okay, now Miss Rose, tell me something that you're seeing right now. She'll look around and just pick out something. I see the clock. Okay, what are the numbers on the clock? Okay, tell me something that you're hearing right now. I hear the air conditioning coming on. And slowly but surely, as you work your way through those 5 senses, it stops that panic feeling. Now, not always. Like I said, if it's a physical issue and you need medication, that is a big deal. But a lot of times that grounding, going through those 5 senses, what do you see right now? What do you hear right now? What can you touch right now? What can you taste something? Would you like a drink of water? Would you like something sweet? And then that really brings back down, so then you can start to think about what's going on with your issues.
I tell you, what helps me and can help other people too is sometimes hope. I always think about the positive stuff. If you sit here and wave the negatives, it's going to bring you down. Really, if I'm around some people and they want to talk about that, no, let's talk about some positive stuff. Then I take notes, like, sometimes I'll drive my car and I'll take a little ride, listen to some music. It kind of helps, and I, like today when I was coming in here, took a deep breath, and so I knew what outfits I was going to wear for the week. I knew, because I had this all planned out. I was looking forward, and I love speaking, and it helps me because I had a great friend that was suicide in Kentucky. It was hard on me. One of my best friends was. And his wife said, I said this to her, I said, no way. She said, you need to sit down. She said, he was drinking and shot himself. I go, what? That's terrible. And then that's an awful way with mental health. That can bring you, I needed some time to myself. And what's helping me out with all this is going back to the community, helping other people. My family has helped me in my life. And that's why I'm out here helping other people. And I feel great when I train staff, and sometimes when they'll tell me, make them think about, Ray, I thought I had it bad with my mental health. Look at you. The good things you're doing. Sometimes I'll reach out to my brother Mark. Sometimes I reach out to supports with CLS. Great people there. They're like family to me. And so that's what I do. I might even reach out to Dee. There you go.
So based on all the information we just heard and all the stories, and interesting stories at that, how would you say 5 to 10 years from now, where do you see mental health and mental health advocacy going forward?
I've seen it growing over the years, because sometimes you just need to be the example, be the one. Don't try to save the world. I think it's going to go forward because people are being more transparent, like the young lady did about her sex trafficking story. And so a lot of people say afterwards, oh my God, you're just so comfortable with it. Because I wasn't at first. I held it for 20 years. And then I didn't deal with it. It started dealing with me. I was a social worker. I gave everybody everything, and I burned myself out. And I was just like, I was crispy critter. And I was just like confused. And I was like, what in the world happened? And so becoming homeless and then dealing with my therapy, I started realizing, oh my God, I didn't put nothing in myself. So I do see things are progressively going forward in a way where people are speaking online. The resources may not always equate the population part, but I think if we talk about real simple everyday solutions and people loving themselves, love your neighbor as you love yourself. You have to love yourself first before you can love anybody else. You have to give yourself, your glass has to be full before you can pour into somebody else. So those things right there, those practical strategies and reaching out and saying, I want to live. I want to improve my life. I told my son I want to be a better parent. I'm sorry for not being present because I can't blame on what happened to me, but I have to change those circles. So I think those are going to be something I think in the next 5 to 10 years through social media and beautiful platforms like this is going to be something really great for our community.
I do agree with both Stephanie and Ray and the things that they've said about moving in the future, that I do see things becoming more open. So again, my sons, they're younger, the younger generation, and I see them much more comfortable talking about their, what they call issues, you know, my stuff. And that's good, it's great. I also do think with all of the difficulties it might bring with it, online information. They can go and Google something and read about it, and sometimes that's bad, but then sometimes it's really good too. They can find out what's going on with them, and then they will even come to me and say, hey, can we find this type of therapist or this type of doctor, or what do I, you know, I learned this technique, Mom, isn't this cool? And so I think the abundance of information and acceptance of just sharing your emotions will bring us further toward a healthier mental health country.
I do agree with you too, and I agree with the other speaker there. And yeah, in 10 years, if we continue to educate the public in other ways from the internet, friends, agencies, or talk to me, even people with abilities. Hello, you know, I'm here. You know, I've been at this for a long time, and it's a gift to me I really feel that there is a light at the tunnel here, that there's going to, you know, if we continue what we're doing, don't ignore the mental health, don't ignore the person, treat them with dignity and respect. And hopefully, tell them, I hope they're having a good day. Because you can make someone's day by smiling, someone told me. Thank you.
And last question would be, what resources would you recommend to people currently going through mental health struggles at the present time?
988, call that number. Tell them how you feel. At least you have something to talk to. Be transparent right there. Say, hey, don't you call the police over here right now. I don't need that. No, I don't need to go in inpatient. I don't. I'm just going through right now. I don't feel like I have a support or a safe place. That's what I do. Sometimes I call. I do reach out to the resources, and I do invest. So I think that's the quickest resource available, and reach out to your local community. And if you do have a good friend circle, or if you don't, create that for yourself. I think that's the best thing, is to reach out. I say this, that reaching out for help is not weakness, it's actually strength, saying I need help. I need help. When somebody's drowning, they don't care what hand or raft is calling for. I just need to live. If you want to live, you got to fight to live. And I think most people that do commit suicide, I say this, they don't want to die. They want the pain to stop. They just want the pain to stop. So if I want the pain to stop, I have to do the work, and then I have to hold accountable for what I can do. So I say that's one of the quickest ways, that 988, and then ask for the resources.
So to piggyback on something Ray said earlier, family, if we are fortunate to have family who cares about us, now not everybody has that, but I have found in my own family with my brother that he's easy to talk to, and he'll just listen as I blabble on, right, about my stuff. And he's been with me for my whole life, so he knows who I am and what I, and what I think about. So if we're, again, fortunate enough to have a family who is surrounding us, that's great. Secondarily, I would say physicians, your primary physician can really help in figuring out if there is some type of physical issue. Maybe you have pain, and that pain is causing you mental stress. That's very, very a big issue. If there's pain that you're carrying around all the time, that can affect you mentally and your emotions. And then third, those county agencies. I'm up in Oakland County, and I know we have community mental health, we have OCHN, we have different county agencies that will direct you, even financially, to pay for those supports that you might need.
Yeah, I do agree with the, that's what I meant to say earlier. 988 is a very good support number. I've heard about good things about, and then Westland PD, I heard good things about them too. The people that I work with the peers, I said, did they respect you? And he said, yes. And I don't want to see any, hopefully in the years, no more discriminations with people with disabilities. That is an issue. Sometimes people will hold back, and we don't want that. And I never held back, and I'm going to keep going out there. If I see something, say something. If something's not right, I'm going to let the police know if something's not right. Thank you.
Thank you for all the wonderful answers. So now, is there any questions from the audience that might came to be from this discussion today? There is somebody up in the front.
Say, don't be bashful.
Actually, thank you so much for the 998 resource, because I'm, as the advocate in me and the specialist in me, I'm sitting here like, if they don't say 998, I'm definitely jumping up to say it. But I wanted to ask a question. So what I'm running into as a survivor in this life, right, speaking on realm of coming by way of being a millennial, we tend to focus so much time in organizations on intervention. Like, there's so much grants for intervention when somebody actually is in the midst of trouble, but nobody really talks about the ruling of prevention before intervention has to happen. Can you speak a little bit about, and this is to all panelists actually, I appreciate every realm that you bring to the table, and I'm honored to be in this room with you. Can you speak about preventative methods before we have to get to intervention regarding mental health?
I think we need something like community-based, especially for our youth. Our youth are troubled. They don't have hope. They don't know their future. I can say when I was coming up, there were options. They see the stuff on the telephone and this political stuff, and we're not being the best role models. So I think more youth programs, something more positive outlet for them, investing money in them. Listening to them, more settings like this where they can talk and be real and off the hook. I let the youth share what they wanted to say. I don't try to control them. I think it's very important that we provide that space of prevention, not intervention. And then they'll share, and then they'll realize that it's not really that huge, because they need to learn how to be emotionally intelligent and also communicate their feelings. And then if we get them at that level, at their age, we can really help them. And then if we're talking about more mature population, we need to demonize and take away the stigma of negative thing of mental health. I'm not gonna ask for the help. We need to remove that. So if I progress anymore, you can serve while you're wounded. You can serve while you're still bleeding. So I can help someone else, encourage someone else. Don't have to be perfect. So we need to remove that as well.
This is where I go back to what I've learned as individual mentorship, one-on-one. You can do this in a professional role, if you are a sports coordinator, if you are a CLS caregiver, or you can just do it as a friend. But in the role of mentorship, that includes consistency. I meet consistently with those people once a week. They know they're going to see me every Wednesday morning, and so they know they can say anything they want to Wednesday morning, and that kind of holds them accountable. But we also try and do something that they like to do, right? So that positivity, like you were saying, doing something positive with that person, but it's the one-on-one. I need to know that this phrase isn't going to work with this girl, but it is going to work with that guy. And the only way I can learn that is by being with them all the time in a one-on-one situation with no other voices in their head, doing something that they like to do, and just being with them. Also, and this is, you may or may not want to do this, but I open my access to them via text for 24/7. Well, I do tell them I do go to sleep around midnight, but anytime during the day or evening, they can text me. Now, you may or may not want to do that, given your situation, or if it's in an organization that prohibits that kind of thing. But they know that if they have a trouble, or, hey, I need a ride, Lisa, can you pick me up? No questions asked. If I can do it, I'll go pick them up. So that mentorship, they know that they have somebody. It's not their family. It's a little bit of different situation. They're maybe more free to tell me stuff than they would be to tell their family, but they have a mentor that's there with them.
Right, like I'm a mentor, and I sit down with the ones that I work with like resources or their goals, or I get supports too. So sometimes I need to talk to my support coordinator or someone to talk to that helps you see, make things better. I mean, there's different ways you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your coworkers, the ones you can trust, so yeah. Making sure it doesn't get out the door. So, yeah, I want to say that mentoring has helped me in my life. And all the good supports that I'm living a life today. I'm living that self-determination. I am working at community living services, driving a car. And one more thing, I'm on the DD council too. So with the disabilities, with policies and stuff, we are making changes with inclusions.
I think we have a question in the back there.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Oh, good. Hi everybody. My name is Dr. Osinachi Ajero, and I didn't feel it would be okay not to have an input as a physician. So when you talk about mental health, that's what you should think about. It is health, and it's very important. The brain controls basically everything in your body. When you look at mental health from the medical point of view, you find out that it is basically chemicals in your brain, imbalances that causes different mental health situations. And as physician and mental health advocates, it's very important to be able to go deep down, like she said, to understand the root cause of the mental health issue before you start actually giving out medications. Medications are good, don't get me wrong. They help correct some of these imbalances in the brain, but a good physician will help try and figure things out first before resorting to medications. And I felt it was important for us to make note of that, and especially people with mental health and disability. It feels like a double jeopardy for them because already they have a disability, and that affects their mental health every single day. So it's important for us that are able to always recognize these people and tell them that they are humans just like us. The fact that they have a disability does not make them any different from any one of us. So I recognize you, and I'll continue to look out for you, sir. Thank you very much.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Oh, we have one right over here, right up. The gentleman with the black t-shirt.
Testing. What's up, Ray? What's up, everybody? I appreciate you all speaking, and this question is a personal one because I'm an advocate as well, and I work with mental health.
Before you get going with your question, can you state your name
My name is Rex,
for the audience?
best friend of Ray. Rex Sharkey, everybody. But one of the things that you had to say, which was I loved, I got geeked about because I'm a behavior analyst, was you're talking about kind of the before, the preventative measures. And so that's kind of what's inspiring this question is, and for everybody it's a little bit different that I've worked with and spoke to, but when you're in your darkest moment, you're in your lowest low, everybody has one thing that can kind of pull them out. And I think with you three especially, I think one of the reasons that makes you three great and so adept at speaking on this is you've seen your fair share of adversity. And so I guess from a personal standpoint, when you know, kind of like what you were talking about, where grounding sometimes can't come to play and you're deep in that panic attack, what pulled you all out?
Prayer. I prayed. It was like this prayer warrior. I believe my God, Elohim, Yahweh, had a purpose for my life. He had a purpose for this pain. And I kept asking him, why did you allow this to happen to me? I just want to serve my country. I just want to do this. He said, I have a purpose for this. And it took that long. For one, my testimony, what I'm saying is that I'm still here. So I can be transparent enough. You still here. You came out of all of that. So I had faith. I have faith that he still had a plan for me. So that's what kept me alive. So when I get dark and I feel like no human being, no 988 or nothing, I believe a supernatural being, which gives me breath in my body, blood through my veins, I have no power here, has a purpose for me. So I pray. I go in nature and I just talk to God. And I said, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to heal my wounded warriors because you were one. And it took years to get there because I didn't think I had nothing to offer because my self-esteem was broken. I didn't think I had no value because I didn't have validation. So my validation came from my God. So as he began to tell me what to do, I did it. So prayer was my key and it still is. And it's my faith, believing that all these things are working together for my good. So they became my power, and it's my superpower, is my faith in my God and faith in myself that I have a purpose to fulfill, and I must leave a legacy. One plant, one water, God gives the increase. If I don't do nothing, I'm going to speak life. I'm going to give what I want back. I'm going to speak life. I'm going to be kind, and if I can't be, I'm going to shut up. That's what I'm going to do.
So I'll share an experience that I had. Severe trauma I had in my life at one point in time, and I would have panic attacks, and at one point I was taking sick time off work, and my favorite place to go when I have a panic attack is in my closet and shut the door, right, because of the stigma. Like, I don't want to see my family, want my family to see that I'm so upset. And eventually, I could think about the issues and reason them through and, you know, talk to a counselor. But during that first panic attack time, my husband didn't try and tell me what to do. He would just say, you want to talk about it? I'd be like, no. But he knew I wasn't eating. He knew I wasn't sleeping well. And so he would simply open the door, take my hand, and make me a salad and sit me down on the couch. And I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but it's what pulled me out of that cycle of panic about my trauma. He knew what the trauma was. He knew we eventually would figure it out and we would eventually move forward. But I just couldn't tell myself that at the time. It seemed overwhelming. And I didn't seem to know what to do. So I guess simple things like that have pulled me out. Knowing somebody cared enough to make me a salad, make sure I was eating, make sure that my health was physically being taken care of. And that's what helped me to eventually be able to work with it. Because I still had to work it through. I still had to talk. Still had to figure out how I was going to handle that trauma. At that moment, I could not. You know, it just wasn't within me. So to pull me through out of there, that's what I would say had helped me.
Well, my trauma back in the day was the institution and living with my family. That was where it really came in on your mental health. It was really like, but I know that one of my callings with the Lord, it pulled me through. And when I look out that window of that institution, of all the bad things, it was supposed to be a good institution, but all the bad things that went on in there, you didn't have no hamburger. They just give you something. Or they would put you in a closet. If you didn't, I just want to share a little bit about that because it does take a lot, you know, and I think that's what helped me out. And this lady, her name is Alice Souls. I'm going to stand for a second. She's so proud of me. I got an award, Evenings of Friends, in 1996. And I still got it. And it says, self-advocacy of the closures of the institutions and living a life today. And one more thing. I got this for my birthday. I'm a hero of all the good things that I'm doing. And people are telling me from Westland PD too, give me the support. They came to my birthday party. I want to recognize them too for their hard work. And I have one of them sitting on my disability advocacy group. And I think it's great to have a birthday party and celebrate. I got a nice jacket sitting over there, and I've been wearing from them. I support these guys because they work hard like we do. So I appreciate them every day. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Something that can get people talking and share different perspectives and maybe open. Oh, okay, Ryan, all yours, buddy.
Thank you very much, sir. My name is Ryan. I am an advocate for people with disabilities. I also sit on the Disability Advocacy, Westland Disability Advocacy Committee with Ray. And I want to thank Ray for coming up with this idea to have this conference or this discussion because we need this. In my opinion alone, mental health is brought up but not talked about. You know, there are stigmas. There are people who don't talk about mental health, who don't believe it exists or don't want to believe it exists because of the stigma behind it. If we admit there is a problem that affects people's egos or, you know, whatever it may be, we need to have these discussions and continue to have these get-togethers like this to show people that it does exist, that there are issues that need to be talked about. So I am also an intern with the City of Westland. I want to mention that too. So, thank you.
I would like to thank all our panelists for being here today and sharing all their information. I'm forever indebted to you guys because it's the first time I ever got to do any type of moderating, so thank you for putting up with me. As we wrap up today, I would like to say one of the most important things we can take away from this, regardless if we talk about mental health, physical health, spiritual health, or whatever, we got to remember one thing. We are all one human family.
I would now like to introduce Mr. Pascal.
Before I make a presentation on behalf of the mayor, I would like to ask us to please complete this anonymous survey on your table. We want to get feedback from you. It helps us in continuing to improve what we do here at DEI Department of the City of Westland. Now, on behalf of the mayor, Mayor Kevin Coleman, who is very supportive of what we do here at the DEI Department, I would like to present the certificates of recognition first to Ray Shuhos. Please, Ray, come and... Then we have a wonderful moderator here, Michael. Michael did a great job, and the mayor has a certificate of recognition for him. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. I believe there are other veterans in the room, but we are privileged to have a veteran as one of our discussants, and the mayor has asked me to present her this certificate of recognition. Sergeant Stephanie Shannon. Of course, Dr. Lisa, thank you so much for saying yes when we invited you to be part of this panel discussion. You've got a lot of expertise in this area, and we appreciate your support and your encouragement. Dr. Lisa. The last but not the least, I was watching people in the audience as she was delivering her spoken word. She was just phenomenal. Lauren Sowell, please do come here and receive a certificate of recognition from the mayor. We appreciate you. So the MC.
Now for closing, I'd like to introduce Mr. Don Nicholson.
Wow, I'm supposed to follow all these people? This was a great experience. You know, Paschal called me to ask me if I would do the final remarks for this. I was up in Canada visiting with a cousin of mine who was very involved in disabilities. He happens to be the chef Mézian for the Canadian Paralympic team and for the Canadian Paralympics. So it was a very interesting conversation while sitting with him. I think it's time that we give our great round of applause for Dr. Lisa, Sergeant Shannon, Michael Bellinger, Lauren Sowell, and my friend Ray. You know, Ray has been a friend of mine. I sat on the Disability Concerns Committee with Ray for many, many years. And there he is. He's still holding the ground for that one. But you know, we all talked about different things of how we learn and how we help each other. Ray went for a ride with me one time down to the Woodward Dream Cruise, and most people here know that I'm the car guy. Boy, what an education Ray gave me that day. And that was such a great day to spend. And Ray and I have gone to many, many shows, and we will do more in the future. And that was one of the things that we can all pass on to everybody else. Everyone has something to offer. Everyone has something to give us. We can learn from everyone out there, and I think that that's very, very important that we do that. I was happy to sit on the Friends of Board for Friends of CLS. I'm an advisor with the STEP, Services to Enhance Potential, and I love the ARC and Judson Center. We have so many great organizations right here in Westland. I want to thank one person who's not here today that got this all started, and that was Mayor Sandra Cicerelli, who originally started the Disabilities Concern Committee. Am I correct, Ray? You're correct. There we go. So with that, she started this many years ago. Now we have Mayor Coleman Young, Mayor Kevin Coleman, I apologize. Geez. See, I didn't write down my notes. But Mayor Kevin has carried this on, and with the help of Hashel Easy and his team, I think that we all need a round of applause for Director Easy, for the team. This is such a great city that I love to call my home, although I wasn't born here. And Westland has been so far ahead of the game in so many communities and disabilities and services that it's just wonderful to call this place home. So with all of that, I'd also like to thank Nicole Jones, who without her help, we know we know Pashel is the boss, but we know how things get done, right? So thank you very much, and there's so many, so many people that I'm sure that we're not even going to remember thanking. Ray had brought up the way it used to be when people went to different buildings, basically. Let's call them that to be nice. One of them was right here in Westland, Eloise. We had the Northville psychiatric place. I highly recommend going to the Westland Historic Village and looking at what they have done to keep the history of Eloise going, because we should never look back and go back. We should move forward all the time. But we can't do that if we forget what the old way was. And we know that the old way was never really good. So there's a lot to be said. So the museum has a great program in there and a display that I think everybody needs to go in and take a look at. Let's all make sure that we remember to reach out to each other so that we can all help each other. Looking at some close notes here, but Ray mentioned the facilities. We also had programs in schools that they were going to close because we had certain programs like Berger School in Garden City that was solely 100% autistic. In 1989, I led a group to Lansing to make sure that stayed available to everyone. Because it's not about putting people in a corner or doing something like that. It's about having all the opportunities available. If your son or daughter can go to a normal school and and get a regular education, we should do that. If they can't, we should have a system available that all of our kids can grow up and learn. And that's really what it's all about, is it's to not put a box, not put anyone in a box, but to make sure the doors are open, to make sure that the people are available. And if you need help or you know someone who needs help, reach out, call that 3-digit number, and call the police department. We've got a great police department. When I was on the disabilities board, one of the things that came to us from the police was they thought of doing a silent open house. Doesn't sound like much, does it? If you've never been involved with people with disabilities or people that have motor issues or people that have flashing lights and sirens and things like that. And we want everyone to appreciate the police and get to know the police and to be able to go in and call them for help when they need it. Hopefully they don't need it, but you know what? We need to have all those opportunities available. And that was one of the big things that I thought was the greatest thing that came out of the short years that I was on the Disability Concern Committee, was that we were doing something for others. So anyways, I can go on and on. Most people that know me know that if you hand me a microphone, or like my staff says, give Don a nickel and he'll talk for hours. I'd like to say thank you for coming. thank you for enjoying the day. And let's give one more round of applause to our people that have made this a very interesting day and easy. Let's make sure we do more of these. Thank you.